All right, welcome to another edition of What in the World is Going On?
Who knows?
Well, we don't always answer your questions, but we do discuss some of the mysteries of the planet and of what's going on in this country and around the world. My name is Don Wilson. I got Eric Freeman with me, and we have a special guest. We've talked about having a special guest, and so we finally
Thank you.
do. Pastor Steve Hoover of Bible Freedom Fellowship. Welcome
Good
to
to
the
be here.
program. How are you?
Good to be here. Thanks. Yeah, I'm
Good.
doing good.
Good. So some of the craziest things, well, there's no way to. We try to break it down to like three things, right, Eric? But it's just about impossible to cover all the crazy things that
Yeah,
goes on in a week that
yeah,
make
no.
you scratch your head and go, "What in the world is going on?" But earlier, I think earlier in the week or a few days ago, that it was made, um, or it was a news story that was talking about the number of like meat processing plants, food processors that are mysteriously burning to the ground.
Eh,
And I forgot like 17 or something like that.
18,
18, 18.
18 food. Yeah.
So what in the world is going on? I mean, coincidence or no?
Does anybody have any kind of a theory? Has anybody come out and said, "Hey, we think it's terrorism," or "We think it's some PETA organization," or anything like that? Have you heard anything
I
about what
haven't
some of
heard
the?
nothing on the official, but when you see somebody shared that news story, and I was reading the comments once I read the story,
Yeah.
and somebody was like, the comment was, "They're trying to starve us next." Who are they? I don't know. And then maybe a conspiracy theorist or something. I don't know, but
Well, the General Mills plant, there was actually an airplane that crashed into it. And
and so what happened there? Did Lucky Charms get destroyed, or I mean, I don't know. I don't really know. That would
uh,
upset a lot of people. There'll be a run on Lucky Charms at the store. But yeah, so I mean, and then I'm reading last night that a number of pharmacies are going to close down this year. Um, kind of, I mean, the list kind of keeps going on. I mean, you hear, I don't think that retail and a lot of that is anything unusual. Your big box stores have been opening and closing for as long as they've been big box stores. So I don't think there's anything suspicious. But there's a story about every 2 weeks. It's Walmart's closing more stores. Okay, I don't think that's related to anything. I mean, they always say anyway they're closing their underperforming stores, and that's what retail does, right? I mean,
mhm.
that's what you do, right? In business, you can't keep the underperforming businesses open, or you everything will be underperforming, and you'll be out of business eventually. So, yeah.
So one of the underlying issues on this article that you sent
Hmm.
to me was that not only are all these plants, these manufacturing plants, are catching fire, but by 2045, the new administration says by 2045 we are going to go to mandated um, uh, um, vehicle performance is going to be at least minimum 45 miles per gallon MPG minimum. If it doesn't perform to 45 miles per gallon, it will not be allowed on the roads. That's the underlying issue in this article that I was reading through. And so, again, we're going to a controlled environment.
Well, I had a gentleman that I was talking to in California the other day telling me that that things have gone. He's lived there all his life. I wanted to ask why have you not left yet, but I didn't. I was trying to be polite, But he was sharing with me that the insanity of everything that's going on from the government there, and that they have to get rid of. I don't know. Maybe by 2025 they have to have an electric vehicle. That they can't have
Mm-hmm.
something in it. But you're saying, I guess, I mean, the 45 mile an hour I think is more doable. But it's so weird that it takes a lot of resources to be able to build these batteries. And so they're pretending like an electric vehicle is the cure to all of our problems. We're going to save the planet. And I think Pastor Steve will agree with me. Only Jesus is going to save the planet.
Yeah.
He's
Exactly.
it. When he comes back and makes all things new, then it'll be good. But we, as I guess sinful men, are not going to be able to save the planet. I mean, we're just going to keep. It's been going downhill ever since the Garden of Eden, and I don't think that it's I don't think man's going to turn it around. But
Are we
anyway,
saying that this is a tie-in with the burnings? That there's kind of this overall idea that we want the government, certain parts of the government, certain parts, segments of society want us to go in a certain direction. So this is all tied together in a plan. And I've had people say, "Oh, that's who can plan that." Well, coming from my perspective as a pastor, I don't believe that Soros or any of these folks that are mentioned so often in these diabolical schemes are smart enough to do it. But I think with Satan behind these things, if you take the position that Satan is the Lord of chaos and
yep.
chaos is what he's looking for, and
Hmm.
then you start to look at all of the crazy things that are going on, that makes sense with the background of they're really not trying to fix anything.
No.
If you go from the position that the extreme leftists want America destroyed, so when they come out with something where they say, well, we're going to come up with a law where we can kill babies up to 2 weeks after they're out of the womb, I don't think that's their intention at all. I think it is their intention to spread chaos and to burn America to the ground. They want to burn it down and start over. They've not been shy about that.
They have not. No, it's the globalism. They call it globalism now. 40 years ago they were calling it New World Order back then,
Right.
but now they call it
Right.
globalism. And so, you know, in the last 2 years, there's been this giant move in that direction by opening the borders, and so citizenship, which was you know was what this country was founded on, that you're going to be a citizen, and yeah, you can come here legally, but you got to speak our language, and you got to assimilate, and all these things, and then slowly over the decades, it's changed. Starting in about the '60s with Ted Kennedy and some of the legislation that
Right.
he was able to pass,
Right.
until now, with Joe Biden just saying, come on, come on. And so what do? You bring in people, then you have states that allow people to vote that can't even speak the language, let alone be citizens to vote. But they're allowing it to happen, just like some of the things they allowed to happen at the last election. So yeah, it's certainly chaos. It's chaos along the border, from what I've heard when people that I've talked to out of Texas. It's
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, Satan is the author of confusion, and there's certain plenty of
Yeah,
that right
and
now.
when you start adding in some of the things that have been happening just within the last week, last few days, Elon Musk buying Twitter, and the left is losing their minds when this guy comes out. I'm not a big Elon fan by any means, but I am a big free speech guy. And when he comes in and says, "Hey, we just
Yeah.
want to open this up and be more transparent," and they've just lost their minds, and because and
Yeah.
also then I just heard today this guy talking about the formation of the Homeland Security Department of Truth, basically, where Homeland Security is going to decide what's misinformation, what's disinformation, and that all just bends its face towards this. What did you call it? It's not New World Order now. It's the
Globalism.
globalism. Yeah.
Globalism. They try
So
to make they took the term nationalist or nationalism as being a bad thing. If you're
right.
for America and you want American jobs and you want American prosperity, all of a sudden, you're not being a good person.
Right.
You need to be trying to help up. So basically, it's a socialism whole world thing. So if you make everybody the same poverty stricken, except for I guess a few of the elite, then I think that may be the end goal. But for what's
Yeah.
going on, but just yeah, it's just what in the world is going on
Go-
from that phrase? It's just insane. It just seems like,
It is.
and we talked about this I think briefly. That I'd read a report that they were talking about the farmers not being able to get the uh, fertilizer and everything that you'd normally get, or they would normally get, that comes out of Russia, is going to increase food prices. And food prices are supposed to go up dramatically, not only because, of course, the gasoline and trucking and so forth like that. What it takes to run a tractor or a combine this year compared to 2 years ago is
Yeah.
what, like 3 or 4 times more now. And then you've
yes.
got you can't get the fertilizer, they can't get the nutrients they got to put in the ground, so you're going to have a smaller food supply, and that's going to drive prices up. And the article that I read, and I'm sorry I can't quote the source, but they were talking about They say if you think gas is high, you ought to wait to what food's going to do. It's going to be like for a family of four, an extra $1,000 a month
It's
for
crazy.
food. And so times people need to get prepared. Jesus gave a parable talking about the virgins and so forth. But in that parable, he was talking about being ready and being prepared. Um,
Right.
and I think that if you know things are going to get bad or suspect they are, you need to start getting prepared. Not only for the second coming, but also for for having a food supply and
Right.
water and things like that you might need in the meantime. So, well, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
would even I would even take it, and I've kind of started to take that a step further in that, like for instance, my wife and I, we have pigs and we have some chickens and a small garden, but our other pastor has a very large garden, and just starting to talk to some people and just kind of putting forth the idea, folks that own cows, some other folks that have gardens. What are we looking at if the economy just goes so bad that we have to go into a barter system? Are we, set up in a city, how many chickens would you need for some cow meat? Starting to kind of think through that stuff.
Right.
I've got a friend down in Haiti, and back in the 80s when Haiti was starting to be rather prosperous, Papa Doc came in, took over the place, shut it down, and he said, "I wish we'd have just had a month's warning. If we could have put up a month's worth of food, it wouldn't have been quite as disastrous to the Haitians as it was." And I often think of that when I see situations where we're in a situation where we know the financial situation of the United States cannot stand like it is. It just can't.
Mm-mm.
It's not possible.
Yeah, it's not. Um, so, Eric, go ahead. You look like you got something to say.
I did. You said something about crossing the border and being able to speak the language and this, that, and the other.
Yeah,
And
citizenship. Yeah,
I
original.
have to talk about Uncle Joe. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right.
I have so um come from Blaze. They were
Oh,
talking about Joe spoke today. That I don't know if you guys heard this or not, but he's up there and he's just stammering and stuttering and I'll try to turn it up loud enough and I'll play a little bit if you guys care.
okay. Yeah, I'm kind of curious.
And enter the comic relief.
Yeah.
That will enhance our underlying effort to accommodate the Russian oligarchs and make sure we take their ill-begotten gains. We're going to accommodate them. We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Kleptocracy. The guys who are the kleptocracy.
I don't know if y'all can hear him.
Yeah.
Yeah, what in the world is he talking about? What in the world's going on?
Putin's the cockatrice.
Is topography? Putin's topography? I don't know.
What in the world?
And I gotta throw a little something in that I read and just an observation somebody had, and I'm like, very good, it's spot on. Pastor Steve mentioned Elon earlier, and all these liberals and free speech haters and all that have been melting down since it was made known that he's definitely going to have the company. And it's so ironic is that they're all driving to work in the cars
In Teslas.
in Teslas
Yeah.
that he manufactured, which made him be able to afford
Yeah.
to be able to afford to buy Twitter. So anyway, it's just yeah, exactly. Boo, cause and
Yeah.
effect. I love it. Oh man.
Yeah, this whole thing has just been stunning to me to watch. I wasn't a big Twitter guy until this took place. I really started monitoring more just to watch the drama unfold over there of so many people being so upset about free speech being expanded. And once again, I just keep going back because what happens is I hear something and I go, "How can this be? How,
Yeah,
how can
exactly.
people be this stupid?" I mean, and the fact of the matter is, if, like I said before, if you look at it from the point of view that they're not, they want to see destruction. They don't care if it makes sense. When you're talking about women and men and each other's sports and all that stuff, they don't want to see men's sports or women's sports prosper. They're not out to make women's sports better, obviously.
No.
But when you believe, if you believe that what they want to do is destroy it, if you believe what they want to do is destroy the Boy Scouts, which is why they're enacting these crazy laws about different things. And so when you start coming coming at it from the fact that Satan is in control of this, and he's got to bring America to its knees
Right.
so that he can enact this globalism government, call it one world government, globalism government, whatever you want. But the destruction and chaos has to be first so that somebody can come in and go, let me put some order to all this.
Yeah, I'm going to bring peace to all of you, so follow me. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a mafioso technique. You break the windows in somebody's shop 4 or 5 times, and then you come and you say, hey, look, I can keep that from happening. All you got to do is pay me some protection money. Yeah. So
Right.
Forget about it. Oh,
forget about it.
All right. This kind of connects in with what we've been talking about. This is a story that was on Daily Wire, I believe. Nancy Lazar, the chief global economist of the investment bank Piper Sandler, said on Monday that the world is in the first part of a very significant recession. During an interview on Fox Business, Lazar told anchor Maria Bartiromo, I think this is her name, said it's going to be a global recession pulling down the Eurozone in particular, and noted that it looks like the China gross domestic product in the second quarter could be in the negative, which would be bad for the world scene. The economic activity in the United States will feel very, very weak, she said, as growth slows down from last year's recovery. So, are we headed for a global recession? Is a loaf of bread going to cost us a day's wages someday? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so CNBC.
Okay. Oh man, we're not quoting CNBC, are we?
Scraping the bottom of the barrel there. Yeah.
I mean, I was trying to be careful about quoting Fox News.
Well, these are the ones they listen to.
Okay.
So
Okay.
in this article, they just put it out, dated for the 20th, April 420.
Okay.
This year. I'm not gonna. I got a few other stuff there, but anyway, I'm not gonna chase that squirrel. They're talking about in the next 3 or 4 quarters, certain items of food becoming a shortage.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so go to Politico. Fact. This article came out today. Okay, they say there aren't predicting food shortages. They are planning them.
Right.
Said on April 3rd, claim on Facebook. Another point to a clip of President Joe speaking and falsely claiming it is proof of the same. Other posts, such as the one foreign commentator Dan Bongino, are analytical, warned of what lies ahead, were disruptions from the war in Ukraine collide with already rising food prices. But they're saying, in this article sums it up, they're saying there is no food shortage. The war in Ukraine is what's slowing everything down. But CNBC says, oh no, it's coming within the next 3 or 4 quarters.
Well, what kind of the recession and what we've talked about earlier with fertilizer, and if you have meat processing companies that burn to the ground, somebody can't process meat. Everybody's going to have to learn to process their own, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they're going to come out. You're already seeing it when you go to the store now. They blame it on the supply chain. There's probably going to come a time very soon where meat is already starting to go crazy. It's already just up, skyrocket. And so then the Democrats want to be, well, I have to say the Democrats, liberals, there are still some good Democrats. I haven't talked to them lately, but, going into this idea that, the reason we just lost 18 processing plants, of course there's going to be a shortage. They've always got something to kick back on. And you were talking about Biden coming out. I saw that a clip of him saying, yes, there is going to be food shortages. It's going to happen. And like I was starting to say, when you go to Walmart, you can see, I went just a couple weeks ago, couldn't find a package of spaghetti to save my life. No spaghetti. And it's weird shortages like that, it's just different things. And it's and we're starting to see other things too that lead me to believe this recession idea, in that, and this is small things, but I noticed it when I was in Costa Rica. People don't take quite as good care of their lawns, banks, gas stations. They don't fix the signs when the light goes out on one of the letters as quickly. You know what I'm saying? That
Mhm.
used to be a point of pride here in the United States, is that, our stuff looked good. It worked. And those are the first things to go when people start shorting on money. You don't fix that electric sign as quick. And you don't pay that guy to mow twice a month. You just pay him to mow once a month,
Wow.
So just some
Right.
observations.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. It looks like we're definitely headed down in the recession direction.
Speaking of
Go ahead.
recession versus depression, I took it a step further. There's not much difference. Recession is a short term, a few months, lasting a few months. Depression is longer and a little more severe. CNN, what a recession actually is, and when it will, when to be worried. That was 11 hours ago, and they said in that article, 2024.
Wow.
Um,
Well,
Another one, News Nation says 2023.
mm,
Yeah, and they're talking greater recession, lasting longer than just a few months, 6 months to a year. That's in definition, that's a depression. And my
right.
grandmother grew up in the Great Depression, and I remember how
Yeah.
we did things then in her house.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
my grandpa. I remember he talked about the Great Depression and working. I forgot 12 hours a day for 25 cents,
hmm hmm
and when things get bad enough, then you kind of get creative with your meal plan, um, because you have
how
to,
much you going to
right?
eat today, and how much you going to eat tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and plus, I mean, there's a lot of edible meat out there that we just because we're Americans, we just don't like. Typically
squirrel.
gravitate toward that. Well, certainly squirrel and dumplings, but I mean, I have to mention Pastor Steve mentioned the bartering system, and so my wife and I have been talking about prepping for a number of years, and have started working toward that, and we actually do that. I've been trading eggs for goat's milk, and I've made um, seem like I've traded something else too, but it's usually eggs because it's easy to trade eggs. But
Yeah.
I got some topsoil from somebody for some eggs, and I didn't have to buy that. So you got to sometimes get creative, especially if the economy goes south like that. Um, and if once the dollar is,
Done.
yeah, I,
Done.
I'm trying to be careful, but once it's done, I mean, I don't, I know that at least in the book of Revelation, silver and gold is mentioned. And so I would think that, some precious metals would still like carry some weight in a really bad time, but at the same time, you can't really eat an ounce of silver. But I don't know. I think that might be something you can barter. It might be better to own a lot of ammo, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
and trade. We have that to barter with.
Evidently,
Right.
toilet paper freaks people out
And,
too. You
and
stock
let
up
us
on.
let us not forget toilet paper from 2 years ago. I
Yeah.
was trying to prep even then, and then all of a sudden it's like toilet paper.
Yeah.
I never
That's
read
the
that online from anybody.
that's
Like,
the
oh,
thought
get
process there.
prepared, get
Yeah.
prepared on toilet paper. I never
Well,
read
and
that.
here's another thing is that, it kind of just studying a little bit on the recession there, cash is king, and now is that going to be the dollar cash, or like you mentioned, is that going to be something else? People are starting to talk about cryptocurrency, now I'm not up on that. I do know that, you mentioned Dan Bongino earlier. Dan Bongino and Glenn Beck are both kind of not fully in behind Bitcoin, but if they're going to be behind a cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is the one that's decentralized. So the thing, I don't have a lot of understanding about that, but this may be the time that people want to start looking into diversifying, throwing a little bit here, throwing a little bit there, having a little silver on hand, some ammunition. My wife and I personally, we have different things that we have saved up that we, depending on how bad it gets, you may have I've got a friend that they store up wine. It's not expensive wine, but they have wine cooled. Can you get clean water? Can you get good water? Uh, God, the same person has a pretty good system set up to make lard. If we're gonna,
Yes.
how are we gonna cook? How are we gonna do these things? And I think it is a time that people, you don't have to get nuts. I'm praying that the Lord will come and get us before we all have to worry about that. But somebody's going to have to worry about it. And so,
Right. And so I think that some of these, you were talking about your grandmother Eric, and I was talking about my grandfather, and they came through the Great Depression. You know, they had this skill set that has been lost really by a lot of people over the years, where
yeah,
they were canning like crazy. Right? They were putting the food back when there was food available, and of course, they were raising their own animals, like you were talking about, Pastor Steve. And so this past week, since our last show, I canned goat's milk. Pressure canned it. Yes, you can. I
oh
know
wow,
you're looking at me like, yes, you can. And so I did that. Of course, I've even canned some water, so it's sterilized water, right, in case I need it. But there's a lot of things like that people don't know the first thing about. They don't know the difference between a water canner and a pressure cooker. A lot
yeah.
of folks don't. And my wife just said something from downstairs, but I'm not sure what she said. But it's the what? Oh, okay. Oh my goodness. Well, my wife has become a forager, and so there's a lot of edible things that grow
Oh right,
on
yeah,
this planet that we don't think about because it didn't come out of our pretty little garden. And I mean, I guess there's a lot of people that forage for mushrooms, but there's a lot of other plants out there. People um, can make jelly out of what is it? Weeds. What we'd mow down and call weeds. Just some jelly can be made.
oh yeah.
There's
You can make things out of dandelions
dandelions. That's it. I
yeah,
couldn't think. I went blank. Yeah,
yeah.
you can make jelly, and they say it tastes. I haven't made it yet because it's a lot of work picking dandelions. I don't have that many in my yard, but they say it tastes like a honey with a hint of lemon, and so that sounds really good. Actually, yeah, sounds really good. But yeah, I mean, wild onions. I mean, as long as you get the right ones, they're edible. Then you can take them and dehydrate them and save them and use them in soups and different things like that in the future.
My
And yeah,
my wife and mother-in-law, they call it poke salad.
yep,
Poke salad. Yeah.
It
absolutely.
grows in my yard. I mow it.
Yep.
All the time.
Yeah.
They're like, stop that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now that's a big Southern thing, typically instead of Midwest.
Mhm.
But yeah, poke salad, absolutely. That's a. So yeah, there's a lot out there, and I guess some people are going to start doing research. I mean, if things get tough, like we've talked about in the near future, people might start thinking about that. And I've always made my joke about a lot of people eating Himalayan rabbit because they saw Himalayan in the road and they picked him up. you know,
That's right. Yeah.
and so it may be some more chaos headed our way, and certainly at the end times, when you look at the book of Revelation and what's prophesied there, it looks like it will be chaos. So can't be
Yeah.
really surprised about these things, can we, Pastor Steve?
No, that's right. And the thing about it is we want to be, a couple of things when it comes to doing this prepper thing. A lot of people just, they may think that's crazy, but we are 3 to 4, maybe 5 generations separated from the do-it-yourselfers that you're talking about. 3 generations at least separated from people who grew their own food and made it through this depression. You've got 1 generation split down in Costa Rica. If the economy fell, the Costa Ricans, they're still alive down there that know how to work hard.
Mhm.
They'll snap right out of it. It's going to take us a little bit here because, quite frankly, I like to consider myself as being ready, but I'm not a hard enough worker to make it through some of the things I was told stories about in the Depression. I definitely need to go out and buy my share of toilet paper.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and even things like water, you talking about canning water, that kind of hit me because, our water right now is supplied by our government, and we know we can trust them to take care of us if things go wrong.
Yes, of
So,
course. Of course. Yes,
yeah,
we can. All right. Well, Pastor Steve, it's been good to have you on the show,
great
Eric.
to be here. Yeah,
I
thanks.
I
Thank you
got
for inviting
one
Pastor
more
Steve
quick
on.
thing.
Good.
We talked about the money situations a while ago, and I want to real quick. To date, 244,000 metric tons of gold has been mined, and the 57,000 metric tons every year. We're still finding gold, but Pastor Steve put it on there a while ago. Said Bitcoin. It is now the new
Okay.
way
Yeah.
to measure. You know,
Okay. I tried to not say nothing earlier, but I'm going to have to now. I'm sorry. So my problem, and I've had this discussion with even a pastor before that's very much into Bitcoin. It's made a lot of money off of it. But
hmm
it and it's great. It's a free kind of a free society, so forth right now with that.
hmm
And his argument was if you just have your phone and you can get if you have to cross the border, you can just use that in any country. What if there's an EMP and the phone don't work? Who's
Yeah.
to say they're not going to take out all the towers? Again, when the chaos ensues, who says you're going to be able to call anybody on a cell phone? And
Yeah.
so, what's your Bitcoin worth then?
And
I mean,
Bitcoin
it's
has nothing backing it. There's no
right.
see what I when I'm talking about when I talk about stuff like that, I think like I'd like to have a little bit over here because we don't know. We can assume that the new world order will be built somehow on the ability to control things worldwide. There'll be some
worldwide.
kind of a net, some kind of availability to it. I don't think I'm going to be here.
Mhm.
But my problem with Bitcoin, I'm not a supporter of Bitcoin in that I'm like, ooh, go out there and buy Bitcoin. Because my big thing with that is there's nothing backing it. It's, with
Right.
gold is just shiny. The only reason that gold has any worth is because we place value on it. We decide it's valuable,
Right.
but we have governments that place a limit on that gold. And so I don't know enough about Bitcoin to back it other than a government doesn't get to decide that. There's no one government that says, here's the worth of Bitcoin.
Not yet.
Right. Well, yeah, at this point it's there's no way to take that over because of the way the blockchain works. Now, things like Ethereum, I know just enough about it to get me in trouble. Things like Ethereum and some of these other cryptocurrencies, they have a centralized location and somebody watching over that. Bitcoin doesn't. Bitcoin is it's all done, it's out there, and it's on millions of computers. And so the blockchain authenticates that Bitcoin, and it's almost virtually impossible to hack into that or for a government to take control of it that we know of.
Right.
We've thought that before about other things. So yeah, I'm definitely don't mistake me that I'm telling anybody out there, especially don't hear this from a pastor, go buy Bitcoin. But I think it's something that you might want to look into.
All right. And so, as a disclosure, I will say that I have Bitcoin. Now, when I say that, I don't even have a full Bitcoin because it's so
Right.
expensive. I forgot it's 40 something $1,000 a coin or something like that right now.
It's crazy.
I don't know exactly, but I get the updates, and I don't have anything remotely like that. But I did like start playing around with it a little bit, and just to watch it, and I'm like, oh, it's going up today. Oh, it's going down again today.
Yeah. Or this hour, up this hour, down this hour.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not like our U.S. Stock market or the exchange. It's going on around the clock.
Yeah.
It never,
Crazy.
because it's a worldwide thing. It just, so I don't know. Again, it's not, I don't have enough in there that it matters if it
Yeah,
all
that's
goes away
me.
tomorrow. So
That's me.
anyway, all right. Well, thank you, Pastor Steve. We
Hey,
appreciate
great to be here.
you being on the
Thanks.
show tonight. We appreciate it. And Eric, as always, thank you. And yeah, whoop, whoop. What in the world is going on? We didn't ever really solve that, but hopefully that you'll be asking that same question when you see some of these stories pop up over the next few weeks. And when you go in, like I did a couple of months ago, and I'm like, there's no biscuits. Why is there
Right.
no biscuits?
Yeah.
Why is there a biscuit shortage? Was there a freeze in wherever they grow biscuits and they were all killed by a frost? I mean, I don't understand some of these things. I mean, and then like, I don't know, it's been 6 months ago, but I went into the grocery and the entire, because they usually kept this big area of stevia and it was all empty. Like they had the sugar, they had everything else, but all the stevia was gone.
I noticed that too. Yeah.
I'm like, where's the stevia at? And they're like, supply chain. I'm like, what? Anyway. It's just like you said, it's just a few different things, and they kind of rotated around. It seems like on what's coming in and what's not, and where it's going. I don't know. I'll be drinking coffee black is where we're going because I can do that if I have to.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
I can do that, and there'll be a lot of things. There's a doctor, Dr. Ken Berry. He has said he's out of Tennessee, by the way, and he has said that possum meat is good. It's the other white meat, but he says it's good to eat as well as their like the liver. He says it's really high in vitamin something or another, and my wife
Did I just hear
"Dude."
a cat?
No, she went no, but he's talked about that. We've watched him. He's got a great YouTube channel. Ken Berry, MD, and he's talked about, there's animals out there, a lot of different animals we don't think about eating, but if things get rough and we need to, we can do that. And yeah, we can do that. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me, gentlemen. What in the world is going on? We'll do this again next week. God bless you, and everybody have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.